Hey y'all, Lisa Davis here, the trusted banker. And so I want to talk about the lawsuit that was filed against the acting director of the CFPB for the way that he has halted work and basically pushed the people out from doing their work. So I think this is the lawsuit. Nope, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. There's a lot of lawsuits going on. I just feel like we're going to be in courts again for the next 4 years. So can you guys see that? Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, the Federal Employees Union files a lawsuit over the CFPB shutdown for the DOGE access. So what this is there's a union. I didn't know this, so this really makes me excited. This makes me happy. So the people that work at the CFPB are in the union, and the union is called the National Treasury Employees Union, because they do work for the Treasury, and the CFPB reports to the Treasury. So they have filed a lawsuit, and we have the lawsuit, and they filed a lawsuit against Vought. Vought is the new director of the CFPB, and he is also the person that wrote Project 2025. So CFPB employees have been placed in a questionable status. And that's what I was wondering this morning. So I was just doing some research because they have been told to halt production and to halt doing their work, meaning they don't do any more investigations, no more questioning, no more publishing of rules or literature, right? No more guidance. But they haven't been fired. They've just been told not to work. So I feel like that weakens the agency definitely. But the fact that they didn't fire them means that I don't think they can fire them. And so this lawsuit says basically that they can't fire them. So let's look at the I did pull down the lawsuit. Let's look at the lawsuit right here. Wait, where's the lawsuit? It's still here. Okay. All right, let me know if you guys can see this paperwork. Okay, yeah, you can. Okay, so this lawsuit is basically they filed a complaint yesterday in the courts. I didn't know the courts are open on Sunday, but they filed the complaint. It's dated for yesterday because today's the 10th, right? Yeah. So the National Treasury Employees Union is a labor union that represents federal government employees in 37 agencies and departments in grievances and litigation. So this is interesting then because the way that Trump just came in there and froze everything and froze all the funds and all these things, but there is actually a union for the National Treasury's Employees Union for federal government employees for 37 agencies. I really need to look up who those agencies are. It's a good thing. And so they go on to explain who they are, how they came about. So the CFPB, you know, I talk about it a lot. They came out of the financial crisis from 2007, 2008. That's that mortgage meltdown. In order to be an independent agency of the United States government whose mission is to support and protect American consumers in the financial marketplace. And they've been doing a really, really good job, which is why all the banks and all these places that want to make money without a lot of disclosure are upset. And they have been in Trump's ear for a long time, since his last actually administration. So the CFPB has supervisory authority over $10 billion or more banks. So that means banks with assets of $10 billion or more, non-depositories, payday lenders, mortgage originators, private student lenders, things like that. And then they also have some supervisory control over consumer reporting, consumer debt collection, foreclosure, student loan servicing, international money transfer, automobile financing. So cool. So it says here, since they've been open, they have obtained more than $21 billion in monetary compensation as of December 2024. And as of December 2024, they have received approximately 6.8 million complaints from consumers, including 4.6 million complaints about credit reporting 83,000 complaints about medical debt, and 96,000 complaints about student loans. And they act on these things. They really do. So I don't want to go. This kind of explains who they are and a little bit more what they do, and the things that they do. I want to get down to what their complaint is against Vought, the acting director of the CFPB. It also talks here about the Privacy Act for the CFPB, because what they're suing for is how DOGE went into and did not assume. They got into confidential information and went against privacy law, right? So they're talking about privacy and the CFPB and how the Consumer Financial Protection Act, the Right to Financial Privacy Act, and consistent with those laws, CFPB has made it clear that except for previously recognized exceptions, employees or former employees of the CFPB or others in possession of a record of the CFPB that the CFPB has not already made public, right, without authorization, and likewise are prohibited from disclosing such records without authorization. So they adhere to privacy law, and they are not able to disclose their records without authorization from the public or the employee. So likewise, except for previously recognized exceptions, no current employee or anybody, basically, if we adhere to privacy laws. So it was against those laws that DOGE went in. So it talks about who Donald Trump is and how he created the Department of Government Efficiency under an executive order. It's a temporary organization to be led by USDS administrator, who was also established and called the U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization. The executive order directs each agency head to be in consultation with the USDS administrator to establish a DOGE team. According to the executive order, agency team members may include current agency personnel or new hires. But it was in here, it said, each agency team is directed to coordinate with the USDS. The executive order directs agency heads to take out necessary steps with the USDS and to the maximum extent consistent with the law. The executive order, moreover, purports to displace all prior executive orders and regulation that might serve as a barrier to providing USDS access to agency records and systems. However, as of February 9th, 2025, which was yesterday, President Trump has not formally named a USDS administrator. If you don't have the administrator, then this committee you put together is not allowed to do any of the things you said it to do. It's just like people like Trump and Elon to not pay attention to details, which is why you have people in risk management and compliance and regulatory compliance. Hey, we pay attention to the rules. We read every single word. You guys made the executive order saying who was going to be the administrator and the position of the administrator and what kind of communications were going to happen between the administrator, the CFPB, and the people that work on the committee. And you guys did not follow your own rule. So then in November, President-elect Trump announced that billionaire Elon Musk would have leadership role in DOGE, but he has not been appointed as the administrator. So the DOGE executive order focuses on administration's efforts towards modernizing federal technology and software to maximize governmental efficiency and productivity. The executive order specifically highlights a software modernization initiative and the quality of efficiency of government-wide software, network infrastructure, and information technology. Now, if you ask me, we do need that because there's so many systems that are not connected and communicate to each other. It would be helpful. We have that problem throughout this country with a lot of different entities. That might be helpful, but that's not what he went in there doing. It says multiple reports state, however, that the DOGE teams are seeking full access to agency records, information, and systems unrelated to DOGE's mission. Okay, so information to DEI contract payments and things like that, access to sensitive compartment information facility things. So at the Office of Personnel Management, a DOGE team sought to obtain access to federal employees' personal information, and the DOGE team members have access to a massive database called Enterprise Human Resources Integration, which contains dates of birth, social security numbers, appraisals, home addresses, pay grades, length of service of government workers. and senior career staff at OPM have reportedly had their credentials revoked and can no longer access certain systems. So it's like they were supposed to go in there for technology and to help streamline the systems, and they're in there collecting information. And if we know anything about what Elon Musk has been doing, he's been going after people that he has anger towards, that have denied him on things, that have challenged him on things, put barriers around things. And he's got specific things that he's looking for and things that he's doing. So, it's not good to get all this personal information. So they're suing the director of the CFPB, the Office of Management and Budget, and Russell Vought. He's the acting director and the head of the Office of Management and Budget. He's also the author that wrote Project 2025. So the same day that he assumed the acting role, he told everybody to stop working, pretty much. So this is what they're saying. The CFPB has a statutory responsibility to protect the information that it collects, right? And that is true. The CFPB has not, and indeed cannot, show that disclosure of employee information to DOGE falls within a statutory exception to the Privacy Act, because the people, Mr. Musk and the people that he has with him, are not officers or employees of the CFPB, but rather special government employees outside of the Bureau of Supervision. The need to know exception under that has not been met. So they should not be accessing that information, nor can the CFPB show that disclosure of employee information is permissible under the routine use exception to the Privacy Act. So they should not have employee information. Moreover, even if disclosure of employee information to DOGE could be defined as a routine use, none of the permissible routine uses listed in the CFPB's September 2024 Notice of System of Records allow for the disclosure of employee information to DOGE. So they shouldn't have it. This is all about privacy, and it goes on to show how it starts to talk about certain employees. Catherine Farman, it talks about her position there, how long she's been there, but she's in fear, right? It talks about how she's in fear. Ms. Farman also fears that her personnel information and P2 is no longer secure, which puts it at risk of being hacked or compromised. And we've got, there's another person, Jasmine Hardy, a current employee of the CFPB, as an examiner since August. People get upset with examiners, especially because as an examiner, you go in and sit with the bank's compliance officers. And if things are not in order, or you sit with anybody, you sit with any agency, any institution that you have oversight over. And if things are not in order, you hand down fines and you hand down punishments. And some of these fines can be millions and millions, if not $1 billion. So yeah, some banks are not happy with them. Some mortgage companies that have not been functioning or have done things that are harmful to consumers, credit card agencies, all these places that these people go out to as examiners. And when I say they go out, they actually come out, they sit in our offices for weeks. They examine everything with a fine-tooth comb, how we do our lending, how we do applications, how we do approvals, like all the things to make sure that it's all follow standard operating policies and procedures, that there's no discretion, no discrimination, no differentiation around how applicants are being treated, like a lot of different things, right? And they also examine what the complaint was put in for with the CFPB. So it's a very good agency. And so these people that are going out are saying they're worried because these DOGE has their personal information, where they live, their social security number, their date of birth. If there's any kind of adverse action going to be taken against them for maybe some banks complained to them, or Elon didn't get what he was looking for when he was trying to get into the financial industry or whatever, right? These people are vengeful. So yeah, they're upset and they're afraid they're afraid, they have fear. So the cause of action, the plaintiff, which is the union, reasserts the allegations contained that the defendant since February 7th provided individuals, the defendant is the CFPB, provided individuals associated with DOGE access to agency systems of records containing employee information. The Privacy Act prohibits the defendant, CFPB, from disclosing this information associated with DOGE in the absence of the individual's consent to disclosure. The defendant, CFPB, has granted access and by extension disclosed employee records to individuals associated with DOGE without employee consent. So they also granted access to records that were to individuals associated with DOGE formerly, maybe. The defendant, CFPB, has granted access of employee records to individuals who are not officers or employees of the Bureau, and the defendant, the CFPB, has granted access by extension disclosed employee records to individuals associated with DOGE for purposes other than the routine uses specified in the Bureau's Notice of Systems and Records. So because individuals associated with DOGE are not CFPB employees, regulations promulgated by CFPB further prohibits defendant CFPB from disclosing employee records to DOGE without authorization. So I'm happy to see this lawsuit. What they want is that declaring that the defendant or the CFPB decision to authorize members of the Department of Government Efficiency to access CFPB systems, including employee information, is unlawful. It's illegal. It's unlawful. So we want that. That's what they want. They want that to be declared unlawful. They also want to declare the disclosure of employee records is unlawful. Disclosure of employee records to DOGE is unlawful. They also want to enjoin the defendant CFPB from granting access, so stop it, by extension of disclosing employee records and information to the members of DOGE, except what was required by law. And they haven't proven a law that says they should be able to get information about employees. And they want to order the CFPB to pay reasonable attorney fees and costs, and ordering such other and further relief as the court deems and sees just fit. So just and proper. And these are their attorneys for the union. So I am happy to see this. Again, Trump and his minions are going to be in court for, this is just what's going to be happening. So when we get to that, then we get over here and we see this disclosure, not disclosure, but now they're not happy with that. So they want to see, is there a way that they can get rid of judges? Now Trump is claiming that 1% of the judges hired by, he gives everybody a name. That's why I'm going to start calling him Crooked Trump. I'm going to start calling him Crooked Trump in my write-ups or something, because he's always giving somebody a name, right? So he's saying that because this federal judge blocked Elon Musk and his DOGE government efficiency team, they are interested in finding out if judges can actually... They want to see if are there moments in the world's history where people look back and ask, where were the lawyers? Where were the judges? In these moments, the rule of law becomes especially vulnerable, right? The judiciary, which is emerging as the bulwark against Trump, sweeping policy initiatives at a time when other checks on his power have been absent over the weekend, became a focus of both Musk and Vice President J.D. Vance. So they want to propose the worst 1% of appointed judges as determined by elected bodies be fired every year. This will weed out the most corrupt and least competent. And it's so amazing to me how when they get upset, they all have the same personality. They want to just get rid of people. Like they want to just fire people. Now it's like the worst 1% of appointed judges. Obviously, these people have degrees. Obviously, these people know the law. And it looks like you broke the law, sir. So don't get mad because you broke the law and got caught. Don't get mad. Judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. That's what Vance said. Thank God that we have three branches of government: judicial, executive, and legislative, right? So they all have checks and balances. And that's why they're there, because the executive department does not have legitimate power to do whatever they want. And thank God Congress holds the purse strings, because again, the executive's office does not have the ability to just send out money how they want to send it out, or use the money how they want to use it. So these three branches of government are definitely shown to be how they work and how they're both have checks and balances for each other. So we're going to see what happens with Trump trying to sue the judges or figure out how he can fire judges, which I think is crazy, because I don't think they understand how, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know, but I don't know if they understand how once you make a legal precedent, like if you make a legal precedent on how you can start to fire judges that have been appointed or life appointments, let's look at the Supreme Court then, because we need to get rid of some of those people. That's how I feel about it. So let's see. Yep, that was what I wanted to talk about today, because I am very happy that the Treasury employees have a union and they're suing the CFPB, because right now they're sitting there twiddling their thumbs, which is what happened during Trump's last administration. He didn't give them jobs to do, but he didn't fire them, and they didn't have anything to do. And so when somebody like me would call and say, hey, da 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 da, they would be like, we can't really do anything because we haven't been given any guidance on how we're supposed to operate within our jobs. So I'm happy to see this. I'll be following this. I'm pretty sure they're going to tell Elon what you did was illegal, give the information back and don't use it. And Trump, get your stuff in order. And if you make a policy, make sure you follow the policy and that you make sure that you put the right people where they're supposed to go instead of just like, where is the person, the USDS person that's supposed to be managing this committee that you put together? So that's what we got for right now. My name is Lisa Davis, and I will talk to y'all later. Trusted Banker. Bye.